It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of January 13th, 1995. We got 4 movies to look at today, and some pretty notable films in here. Like usually, like I said before, January is usually the dumping ground for bad movies. But this week in particular, there are a couple of notable films on here, and this one is probably the biggest one of them all, at least for this weekend, and probably the only one of these that's actually pretty good. It's John Singleton's latest movie, and that is Higher Learning.
I got a question I want to ask you all. How many people came here to change the world?
They came to Columbus University to get an education.
You're gonna have to be careful out here.
No matter who you are.
Where are you from? Orange County. It's near Disneyland.
No matter where you're from.
You live near Disneyland.
Welcome to the real world.
No matter what you believe. What you learn is up to you.
It's different here than I thought it was going to be, you know? It seems like everybody's sticking to their own.
People don't realize how far down the drain America's gone.
Columbia Pictures presents a new film from John Singleton.
Information is power.
This is power.
You're dead. There are many ways to fight a battle. Some people use their mind. Some people use their fists.
What are you going to do, college boy?
The basic premise of democratic theory. They are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Of course, John Singleton gave us Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice before this movie came out. And at that point, he had a good track record, and this didn't really hurt his track record all that much. I will say it's the weakest of the 3 films of his that I've looked at so far on here. You know, what made movies like Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice stand out more than from Singleton's other works is that he kept it simple while also making something unique and engaging that stood out. Like in Boys in the Hood, it's a simple story, but there is a lot of uniqueness to that storyline and how they handle the topical issues of the time period, and even for today's standards of how that story plays out. And in Poetic Justice, it's a very simple story, but you get invested by it because the unique approach that the characters have in that movie. And here you can definitely see where he's coming from with this, but I think there's just a little bit too much going on here. Like, he wants to tackle a number of subjects at once, and also very topical to this very day, but there just isn't a good enough script to work with it. I think the acting is what really sticks out with this movie the most. That's the best thing about it. I mean, you always got Lawrence Fishburne, who will usually turn in a very good performance. Ice Cube's very good in here. So is Omar Epps. Christy Swanson and Jennifer Connelly are really solid. I like the chemistry they have together. You got Tyra Banks in here in a good role. Michael Rappaport's also very good here. Regina King, Busta Rhymes. A lot of solid performances in this movie. In the case of this movie, the acting, I think, is the best thing that stands out the most about this film. The script, I think, is just a little too much. Instead of just trying to keep it a little bit more simpler and while trying to be more unique like he did with his other movies, the situations are a little much here, and the editing as a whole I don't think is as strong as it could have been. A lot of good ideas to work with here, a good message there. The film just isn't as perfected as well as his other works, and I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's definitely a decent film, but it definitely could have been a whole lot better. I think it's definitely the strongest of the new releases that we have to look at this week, but like I said, not as good as his other movies, but I still really enjoyed this movie, so that's Higher Learning. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight.
Universal Pictures is proud to present the motion picture directing debut of one of America's most talented and respected artists.
Cut! Cut, 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 cut! Oh, hello, kiddies. So glad you could join me. Your pal, the Crypt Keeper, has gone Hollywood in a big way. I'm directing my first feature film. Care for a little shriek preview? For my big screen premiere, I wanted lots of suspense. Special effects, sex, violence. The kind of thing you could really sink your teeth into. Lights, camera, action. It's about a chase through the ages, a race against time. The war between good and evil.
Come on, everybody, it's time to play.
And the final battle between man
I'm sorry.
and demon.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I lied.
It stars Billy Zane from Dead Calm, William Sadler from Die Hard 2, and Jada Pinkett from Menace to Society. Ooh, I love those titles. And you'll love Demon Knight.
The demons are here!
And ladies, if you think Demon Knight is too gross and yucky,
Whoa!
thank you.
Of course, this is the first feature film based off the popular HBO anthology series Tales from the Crypt, which was basically kind of the late 80s, early 90s equivalent to The Twilight Zone, except much more gorier, much more violent, and much more funny, too. Like, this Tales from the Crypt was an amazing show back then. If you didn't grow up with that show back then, you really are missing out, because that show was a ton of fun, largely held by is with the unique style of storytelling that they had. They had all these different writers and directors, notable names like Robert Zemeckis, Richard Donner, just a lot of notable names. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger directed an episode or two. Like, they just had these so many unique, distinct, twisted versions of these stories that they told, and most of them were very unique and very interesting. They were a lot of fun to watch, and you know, with Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, this was a chance for them to kind of branch out into movies, and we only got a couple of movies from them, but this is easily the best one of the series, and even then, it's not a great film, but it's a ton of fun all the way through. Like, it's mostly fun because of Billy Zane playing the bad guy in this movie. You could just tell that Billy Zane was just having the time of his life playing the bad guy. He is playing it so over the top, he's playing it so serious, while also being so funny at the same time. It's a great performance, and it's insanely funny to watch him just go all over the place in this film. The cast of this movie is also pretty good, too. You got William Sadler from Die Hard and Ghostbusters. Jada Pinkett's also in here. Brenda Black from Hot Shots Pardue. CCH Pounder, Dick Miller, Thomas Hayden Church. You got a cameo by John Larroquette in the beginning. And it's just a ton of fun to watch. It's a movie that's very silly at the same time. Also, it is legit. There are times when it can be legitimately scary. Is it a great film all around? Not really, but it's definitely a ton of fun to watch. It's definitely something in line with what you'd expect from Tales from the Crypt. I mean, it would have been nice to see this continue as sort of an anthology series, but I think after the next movie they did, Bordello of Blood, which actually came out the next year, didn't do so well. They only did one other film, which was Ritual, which was, I don't even think got a release until about 4 or 5 years after it actually got filmed. It was one of those movies that was sitting on a shelf for the longest time, but that's that film. But regardless of this film though is a ton of fun. If you like Tales from the Crypt, you'll definitely get a whole lot of appreciation out of this particular film, I would think. So that's Demon Knight. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Far From Home: The Adventures of Yellow Dog.
Friendship isn't something you find. It finds you.
Good dog. Can we have this dog?
We'll see what happens.
Yes, but it stays outside.
And when a boy and a dog hit it off, nothing can come between them.
Those guys are nuts. But you don't even know how to sit. See you guys in a week. Okay. I made you these. They're a little burned, but not much.
20th Century Fox presents an extraordinary adventure.
Defeat a Coast Guard radio.
About a friendship that would face the ultimate test.
Defeat a Coast Guard radio. Yes.
As long as they had each other, they had a chance.
He's wearing a life jacket.
afraid of Dad.
Just gotta keep working towards the next day.
What they had, they shared.
Sarah's cookies.
What they feared, they faced together.
Because we know we're coming back, are they?
I'll find him. And what they found in each other was the strength to go on.
If there's any hope, we don't ever stop the search.
Stranded far from home, lost in an immense wilderness, together they did what neither could do alone.
That sixth sense is right. Go home.
Far from home, the courageous struggle of a boy and a very special friend to do the impossible.
Come on.
And it's pretty much as obvious as you could possibly get with it. It's basically a story that has this kid played by Jesse Bradford, who was just in King of the Hill and would later go on to do films like Clock Stoppers as a Flint fan. He and his dog get stranded after a storm sends them out into the middle of the woods, and they basically have to survive and find their way back home. So in a way, there's kind of a mix of Homeward Bound in there as well. And I remember watching this as a kid, but I don't really remember too much about it, honestly. It was something that I had in my collection for the longest time. I had the video for it, but very rarely do I remember watching it. And it's been a long time, actually, since I've seen this movie. But from what I've seen from it, it didn't leave too much of a lasting impact of it. But honestly, I don't remember it being horrible. I just thought it was kind of substandard. I mean, I think the only reason you do kind of watch this is watching Bradford's acting abilities, because he was a really good actor back in the day. And his ability to work with his dog, it works very well. But like I said, it's kind of a watered down version of Homeward Bound a little bit, except instead of the dog being accompanied by another dog and a cat, it's him and another kid and the kid. And the director of this is Philip Borsos, who, a name that may not sound too familiar, but he has directed some notable works. He directed The Gray Fox with Richard Farnsworth back in the 80s. He did a very underrated Disney Christmas film back in the 80s, One Magic Christmas. And then he also did The Mean Season. And this was the last movie he did, because he actually died not but a few weeks after this movie came out in February of 95. And overall, it's just a movie that, from what I remember from it, I don't remember hating it, but I do remember it not being too memorable. It's basically, like I said, it's kind of like Homeward Bound in a way, but not as strong. I don't think the story really is all that inspiring or anything interesting, but from what I remember from it, I don't hate it. It's just something that I saw a long time ago, but I don't remember really too much about it, so mixed review on that one. So let's move on to the last movie that we have here, a movie that I don't know too much about, so we can wrap this up pretty quickly. Brother Minister, The Assassination of Malcolm X.
Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world?
Tonight, the Nation of Islam is reacting with anger to allegations that have put its leader under fire.
Was Malcolm your traitor, or was he out?
Shabazz, the widow of the slain Nation of Islam defector Malcolm X, implicated Farrakhan in her husband's assassination.
And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of you?
This is why I say it's the ballot or the bullet. It's liberty or it's death.
Why the Audubon, they said, according to here, he said because they knew he would be there.
The game is being played here.
Even if I wanted to, even if I was crazy enough to get a machine gun and try it, I would have never got in.
Those two guys coming together in the winter of 1965 had to be J. Edgar Hoover's worst nightmare.
I totally reject the notion, the allegation that the FBI was directly involved in the murder of Malcolm X.
I now bring before you a man that would give his life for his people.
Nigga, get your hand out of my pocket!
So as the title indicates, this is centering around the brother minister. They reveal the mystery surrounding the assassination of Malcolm X at the Audubon Ballroom in New York City in February of 1965. It tries to probe the innocence of two of the convicted assassins, revealing the true identities of the killers, examines the FBI and NYPD clandestine roles in the assassination, and discover the secret origin of the Nation of Islam and its political and religious legacy of America, in America, I should say. And that's honestly pretty much everything I know about this movie, because kind of like with the movie we looked at last week, Fast Trip, Long Drop, I think that's what it was called, yeah. But just like that movie, there's not really anything too much on Wikipedia about it. I could barely find a whole lot of stuff about it except for the IMDb page. But and that clip I showed you, which actually has a clip from the Today Show with the I'm guessing it was the people behind the making of the film, or I don't know. I didn't really get to watch the second half of that, but there was from that clip I showed you, there was the second part of that. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. But I don't know. I mean, it could be an interesting documentary to find out about what happened that day. I mean, I like Malcolm X, the Spike Lee film that came out several years before this, but I don't know. I just don't have any real interest to see it. I mean, there's definitely an audience for it, but nothing really more I can add to it because I can't really say, because I haven't seen it. I can't really say too much about it, but it came out this weekend, so that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. So that's Brothers Minister, the Assassination of Malcolm X. And so with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into January 20th on the next episode with 3 movies, including Murder in the First, Bad Company, and SFW. 3 movies to look at, so we'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.